Hi, for today's video we're going to explore two exercises that are really great for loosening up tight, sore shoulders. So for these practices, I'm going to remain sitting so you can do the same thing. You can sit on the floor, you can sit on a chair, or you can do this in standing or kneeling. There's really no wrong position to be in. But ideally your torso is in a neutral position. So if you're seated, and your knees are up really high, you can prop yourself up maybe on a cushion or on a block so that the hips are higher than the knees, and that way our spine is a little bit more neutral. It's not rounded, trying to kind of hold you upright. Okay, so coming into a comfortable standing or seated position, and let's start with I'm going to start with my left arm. You can always use your right arm, it doesn't matter. So we're going to take one arm out to the side and keep the elbow straight. And so if you feel some pinching or discomfort in your neck or your shoulder, you can bring your arm down a little bit lower. So just kind of explore to see what height feels comfortable for you to start in. And then from here, we're going to start to take the arm back in little circles. So I want you to think of the movement coming from the upper arm where it comes into the shoulder socket right here. And they're just small movements. And if you notice that your torso is kind of doing some movement, just come back and reset and go a little bit smaller with your movement. So if the torso is moving, that means that there's likely some tension or some limitation that's preventing the arm bone from moving. So we just go a little bit smaller, moving in a range that's available. We're going to do about 10 of these little circles. Just let yourself breathe naturally. And start to feel how your arm is moving in the shoulder socket. And it might start to fatigue. You might start to feel kind of tired through here, and that's okay. This means you're going to get stronger quickly. And then we can pause. And then from here, take your arm back maybe an inch and a half. And notice I'm just doing this slowly. I don't want to hurt myself or crank it back. And then in this new position, we're going to do little circles again. And so the movement might feel a little bit more limited. It might feel a little bit tighter, a little bit more strained. Just be really gentle, breathing with ease. We'll do about 10 more. And if 10 feels like too many, then maybe you do 5, or maybe you do 3. We all have to start with what feels appropriate for us, and then we can build from there. So after you've done about 10, pause. And now without forcing, let that arm kind of float back as far as it will go on its own. So notice that the torso hasn't rotated or turned. My torso is still neutral. We're just moving through the arm. You can take a full breath. And then let the arm come back and release it down. And then just notice how the arm feels. I like to do a little kind of test. If you're in standing or in kneeling, you might see how, I don't know if you can see in my hands, these fingertips are hanging much lower than the right side. And you can kind of just get a sense of how the tissues on that side have released quite a bit. I kind of feel like a general kind of warmth and looseness through my arms and shoulders, so that feels really nice. So let's balance that out, and we'll do the same thing on the other side, so bringing the other arm up to a comfortable height. We'll start taking the arm back in little circles. So one thing to watch out for is if you bend your elbows, sometimes what happens is the movement can come through the lower arm. Keep the elbow straight to ensure that we're moving the upper arm bone in the shoulder socket. And the torso and the opposite arm are nice and quiet, being in a place where you can breathe with ease. And nice small movements, it's appropriate here. And we can pause and let the arm come back maybe an inch or 2. And pause. And then start little circles again in this new position. pause again. Float the arm back without forcing. Take a full breath. And then let the arm come back and release it down. And notice how that arm and shoulder feels. And then you can do a little check. Now my arms are hanging a little bit more evenly. Okay. Sometimes I like to follow that up by just sliding the shoulder blades up and down the back a few times. That can feel really nice to connect the shoulder blades after doing arm movement. Okay. And then the second movement that I wanted to share is an eagle arm prep. So in a lot of yoga classes, a pose like this is really common, but it's not really accessible to most people because we are really tight into our shoulders and our rhomboids at the back, and don't have the rotation necessary to connect our arms. So we can improve our mobility, we can improve our stability and our strength for our shoulders with this next practice. So we're going to start by bringing one arm forward and then bending the elbow. And as we go into the movement, we want to keep the shoulder level so it's not creeping up towards the ears. So you can bring your free hand to the outside of your upper arm and start to bring the arm across into a stretch. And if it creeps up, we'll just come back and reset. So be where you can breathe with ease. I'm just applying a little bit of resistance, pressing my arm and hand together. And breathing, I like to breathe into the stretch sensation. If there's no stretch sensation, that's absolutely okay too. And just noticing what you notice in your body. And then what we're going to explore after we've held the stretch for a few breaths is rotating the upper arm so that the fingertips come up towards the ceiling. And so I'm just using my free hand to guide the movement. What you might have noticed is when I stretch, my elbow was kind of in the middle, and as I start to rotate, my arm moves out to the side, just because I need a little bit more space to move. And so you can use your hand to kind of help you feel that movement of the arm bone in the shoulder socket, or you can do it hands-free. And then we'll hold this position. And then again, you can press your upper arm into your hand. And then we can come out the same way we came in. So we're rotating back down, extending the arm, and then bringing the arm down. And just notice how you feel. I can see now that this shoulder is much lower than the other side. And that's just me. Your experience might be different. So let's try the other side when you're ready, bringing the arm forward, bending the elbow, and then using your opposite hand to bring your arm across. And we'll hold the stretch for a few breaths. And when you're ready, starting to explore the rotation of that upper arm. So my elbow kind of stays in the middle, so I have a little bit more movement on this side, a little bit more ease. And you might notice your own imbalances side to side, which is normal. And once you feel comfortable with that rotation, then we can hold it. I'm just pressing the upper arm and my hand together a little bit here. Breathing naturally, breathing softly. And just note, if your arm, I just realized now, as I'm rotating my arm, my fingertips kind of comes up to 90 degrees, right? But your experience might be here, right? You might not rotate all the way. So if you're here, this is perfect. If it's here, this is perfect. If fits here, perfect. It doesn't matter. We're all going to be a little bit different. So we work with what we've got. So we all have to start somewhere. And with practice, we'll start to get more range, if that's what you're looking for. And it's not necessarily about having a perfect range, like just small increments. It's learning how to move the body well, and changing those movement patterns, even just a tiny bit, can have huge implications in terms of how we experience pain, how we develop strength, how we move through life on a day-to-day basis. So movement doesn't have to be perfect to be really effective and life-changing. Okay. And then we can come out the same way we came in. And then just notice how the shoulders feel. And I can kind of see now that my shoulders have leveled out. And if you'd like, exploring the blades up and down a few times. And if you're someone who has eagle in your practice, you can take those movements and you can do it simultaneously. So bending the elbows, the arms come across just like we did in the stretch, and then rotating the arms. And if it's available, the palms come together. So most of us, or most of you, might not be able to do this, so you would just skip this. And then if you can be here and breathe with ease, and the back hasn't arched, right? It's still neutral spine. I haven't had to arch my back or round my back in order to make my arms do this. You've got the mobility. Then you can start to take the arms up and down. So again, notice how my spine stays neutral. I don't have to arch or round my back. And the movement's coming at the head of the arm bones, where they go into the shoulder socket. Just exploring a little bit more mobility here. Yeah. So just have fun exploring, and you can do it with both sides if this is part of your practice. But if you never get to this, it's not the end of the world, right? So have fun exploring. If you have any questions, post them below, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.